Today on Skyrider Limited, it's the start of an all-new series. Welcome back to everybody. I am Jesse. Today on Skyrider Limited, we're starting out a brand new series. Tentatively, we're going to name it for the first kite that's going to be on the series. And I'll tell you what the name is in just a second. But first, I'm going to explain the premise, which is, think of it as kite myth busting. So today, I've got a kite that has some very strong opinions on it, and we're going to test and see how well it flies. I'm going to fly it with its original equipment, or as close as I can replicate, and then I may make some equipment changes to more current equipment to see if I can get better performance out of it. So the name of the series, and the name of the first kite, is the Backtracker. So this is Revolution's first beginner quad, the Backtracker, and with that, the series is going to be called Backtracking. So Backtracker, when you get on the internet, you will find has some very strong opinions. It was a tough kite to fly, I think, for a lot of first-time people, and that's who it was targeted at. It's a kind of odd proportion. It's really too tall for its wingspan, and it's got some weird bridling stuff. It's also framed in fiberglass instead of Rev's normal Advantage wrapped carbon. So it was odd and difficult for a lot of first-time flyers, which I think frustrated a lot of people. But I've heard people really enjoying it in recent years, and so I thought I would try it for myself. So one popped up on eBay, and I found it, grabbed it, put some fresh bungees on it, and here we are. We are going to, today, try flying this. I'm going to fly it on, I would guess it probably originally came with somewhere between 35 and 50-foot lines, so I have a set of 50-foot lines here for it. And we're going to see how it flies, and see if we can get it to fly well, and if this thing can be redeemed, or if it's, you know, what history remembers it as, a tough little kite to fly for new flyers. And so the idea for the series going forward will be a lot of these challenges, you know, is it a good kite? Does history remember it accurately? Or is it, you know, will Hawaiian do a comet? I don't know. We'll find out. There's going to be some weird stuff, but that's going to be the fun of this one, is we're going to do the weird stuff. So everybody sit tight. I'm going to put this thing on some lines, and we're going to get to work. All right, so one of the first things you're going to notice different about this series, too, is you're going to get to see me fly. Obviously, if I'm testing something, I want to be able to fly and talk to you guys. And the first thing about this one, too, is I do have the original plastic handles for it. These handles, I can say pretty definitively, are not the most comfortable quad handle I've ever felt. Being really thin and without foam grips, they're definitely a different feel to them. But for what they were for, I totally get it. And honestly, right out of the gate, like, the proportions are off and it doesn't feel like a Rev that I'm used to, but it's not that bad to fly. It's definitely twitchy, like, and these handles are not helping. They only have, you know, top adjustment, but like, it's not the worst balanced quad I've ever flown. Without being able to get the brake, backing up is tough. Like, you can probably see on my hands there how hard I'm having to push. And, you know, I'm not, you know what? Let's just try it. Let's see how it dive stops. Whoop, flipping wings. Hold on. Oh, well, now there's a wrinkle. So when this flips tips, because the bridle isn't attached to that bottom wingtip, you foul a wingtip pretty easily. And being old exposed bungee stuff, once it's fouled, I'm not sure it wants to come off. So I think we're going to stop here, and I'm going to go reset the kite, and then we'll try some other stuff, some dive stops and stuff like that, before maybe going to more modern handles. You know, like, I think I wish I had a little bit more wind than I've got right now, but, like, control's not awful. It side slides pretty reasonably. Quarter turns are tough, but it's not so much the quarter turn. Boy, it actually kind of wants to axle. Oh, we're out flat again. Quarter turns are tough, but it's more finding the hover again because it's so little. It's a lot like if you've ever flown a Rev 2, that smaller size quad, you just don't have as much sail area to catch it, so you have to be really ready to catch and set that hold in the hover. But this is kind of fun. Like, all right, I'm an experienced quad line flyer. I've been flying quad since I was 3 or 4. So this isn't like a straight up test of like, could a beginner just pick this up and fly? And I willingly and readily admit that. But this is not a bad kite. Um, and you probably, like, if you have the patience to learn on this, you probably end up a pretty good quad flyer. Like, this would be a good kite to build some skills on because they're not as easy, but they're readily accessible. Like, I guess I heard so many horror stories about the backtracker. The backtracker, the backtracker was, you know, this awful kite to learn on. It was so hard for people, but maybe we were unfair. Maybe because we all felt that the other kites were easier, we just kind of branded this thing a little too quickly. I'm going to fly it one more time with the original handles. I'll go reset it. And then I'm going to get a current set of handles out. And we'll try it with that and see just what we can really get this thing to do. So you sit right there. I'm going to reset it again. And we'll keep playing. So I think the last thing I need to test on these handles, because without the brake adjustment, this is sort of one of those moves that might be difficult, is a dive stop and a backup up the window. I feel like a dive stop is one of those kind of dramatic maneuvers that like every new quad pilot wants to learn. And it's not a hard maneuver to learn. You're just going to flip the kite over, leading edge down, dive, and stop. And actually, that wasn't awful. I'm really surprised at how well this thing balances, considering I don't have any brake adjustment. Like, that was pretty low. I'm already pretty comfortable taking this pretty much right to the ground. So let's see. Do I have enough authority to back it up? Not really, and it gets pretty rocky there. So it's got enough stop. What it doesn't have is enough brake to back up vertically, though it will kind of. Let's go this way where we've got more window. It backs across the window pretty nicely, actually. So interesting. I think that starting to answer the question here. Let me get my other handles out and put this through its paces, and on modern handles, and we'll just see where we're really at, because these are not handles anybody would fly anymore, or really produce, I would imagine, at this point. Though I'd be curious to know like what they would cost against what how inexpensive metal handles have gotten. But like, I like the concept of the built-in winder for a new flyer too, because it's like one less thing to lose. Really easy to keep your lines, left and right and organized and everything. But yeah, I can say they're not super comfortable. And I would love it if I had just a little bit more backup, a little bit more reverse. Although that wasn't, I mean, I over-controlled it, I split the tips, I dumped it, but like, that wasn't terrible. That started to go back up the window. So maybe it's also a function of, if you don't have the brakes, you need some wind. But let me change handles and we'll try something else. Okay, so handles are switched out. I'm on my Kite Craze full tie handles here. These already have a couple knots of brake biasing built into them. So these are the handles I fly my gins on. I fly my shook meshes on. So these are my newest set of workhorse handles, and they're definitely more modern. They're my preferred grip and everything on there. Right out of the gate, boy, I've got way more brakes now. Like, hover hold is so much easier and takes such small amounts of control now. Like, quarter turns just got a mile easier. Dive stop, actually almost too much brake. I'm actually gonna stop and take a top knot here. Take a little brake out of it, because I came really, really close to flipping that again with very, very small input. And that's just because it's such a small kite, right? Like, the original Rev 2 handles were super tiny for the smaller kite. Now, that's an interesting thing, is like, why did Rev do a whole extra kite in a totally different proportion, different bridling setup? Like, why didn't they just do like the fiberglass frame in a Rev 2 sail? Don't know. I might ask, the next time I see one of the head Zickies, maybe I'll ask. But um, I don't think this thing has gotten the fairest of shakes. Honestly, like I'm having a lot of fun with it right now. There it goes. Now we've got our up the window backup. Like there's our nice quarter turns, and whoa, like a little bit more. There we go. A little bit more wind and right up the window. And there's that dive stop again, right to the tip. There's your punch turn diamond. Like it's kind of right here. Like really nice. I mean, like all the really small quads, like center spins are a mile a minute fast and super fun. And in this like great 90s like neon, a lot of fun to watch too. Like I don't hate this thing. I could get down with playing with this thing. This might not be the last time this sees the sky. In fact, I can fairly definitively say this won't be the last time this one sees the sky. I'm like, now that we're on new handles and with a little bit of wind behind it, I'm actually having a lot of fun here. All right, I think we can give a verdict on this. I would say Rev Backtracker redeemed. People who say this is it's a tough kite. It probably was a tough kite for beginners, but I am going to stand on firm ground that if you could learn to fly this thing, you would be a rock star quad pilot. And that this is not necessarily a hard to fly kite with a really simple change, which is some modern handles, or realistically, I could try just tying some knots, some brake knots into the leader on the original handles, and probably with a little bit of brake adjustment, wouldn't even be that bad on its original handles. But like, here we are. This thing is, you know what? Let's just see something here. We're gonna go up. I'm gonna back up, so if I have to gain ground to do this, you don't lose me. Coming down for the stop. And how about, oh, that is awesome. Okay, that is officially one of the coolest little axles I've ever done. That thing was dead flat, and it just loves to do it. No, this is a great kite. Everybody who says this is a bad kite is wrong. Officially, love this thing. If you find one, buy it, fly it, love it. The Backtracker, great quad kite. All right, so that was fun. I'm really stoked on this new concept. Let me know what you think in the comments. As for today's test, Backtracker's cool, man. I really enjoyed that a lot, and I really enjoyed exploring it because prior to me buying this on eBay, I had never actually seen one in person. So, like, this kind of was a blind-in adventure, and certainly I had some biases based on what everyone had always told me about the kite, but I'm in love. I absolutely love it. 100%, like, I don't know what so with this series, like, failure was always an acceptable option, you know? If I had flown this thing and just couldn't get it to fly, that was always an acceptable outcome for this series. And we would have had a good laugh along the way. And boy, did I have some good laughs along this way, but this is not a failure. I can say definitively, episode 1 of Backtracking, the Revolution Backtracker Sport Wing, chef's kiss. Love this thing. I'm out on a limb probably with a lot of people, and I know that, and I do not care. And I hope that everybody shows up in the comments and tells me all of their experiences with the Backtracker. But if you haven't flown one in a while, revisit it. If you've never flown one, fly one. And thank you, as always, for liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing, following. And we will see you out there, Skyrider.